Hi there, I'm Buddha and you're watching Dr. Guitar, a show for all you guitarists out there. Today's episode is about another amp of my collection, the VOX AC30. This is the 6th amp in my collection. My first good amp is the Mesa Boogie Dual Caliber 50. Then I got into the Fender Twin Reverb, to the Marshall Super Bass. In between those two amps, I bought my Blues Junior, my Fender Blues Junior. So Fender Twin, Fender Blues Junior, and then the Marshall Super Bass. And I already have done an episode on the Fender Blues Junior, so I skipped it. The Marshall, then the Transatlantic, the Mesa Boogie Transatlantic, which I've already did an episode on. And this is the next, the VOX AC30, the next amp in the collection. I've recorded a record with Monstro Mau, one of my bands, and we've recorded in Lisbon, in a studio where they had a VOX AC30 with greenbacks, which is exactly the same as this one. And I've mixed it, I blended with the twin reverb, so I recorded all the guitars through the VOX AC30 and through the Fender Twin Reverb. And I did it that way and loved the mix between the two amps, and loved the VOX because of its grit and its roughness that the Twin didn't have. So the VOX AC30 was always on my mind. I was back and forth trying to get one, but not being sure of it. And I got this one on eBay, probably. I don't remember, but it was used. Some guy was selling it, and after a show I went there to test the amp, and I played a G chord, and that's it. Bring it home. And it's been here ever since. It's a very specific amp, and it's not it would never be my main amp ever, because it's very specific. That's really it. But it does its thing really well, and it does a thing like no amp can do it. It has a layout very different from modern amps. So it has 3 channels with two kinds of input, so a high input and a low input. And it has 3 different channels. It's almost 3 different preamps in the same amp. Let's start by showing you the 3 preamps. So we have the normal preamp. This is the high input, and this is the low input. High, low, high, low. So 1, 2, 3 different channels. Let's start with the normal one. The bright one. Really usable, huh? And the Vibrotram one. For this channel, we have a foot switch that turns on and off the vibrato. So okay, I was testing it. The tone controls only work for the Brilliant channel. So all the other channels only have volume. So it's very simple to operate, but that's why it's a one-trick pony, almost one-trick pony. So let's start with a vibrato channel. It has 2 modes, the vibrato and the tremolo, which is kind of phaser and a tremolo, and it's a very different tremolo from the Fender ones because it's bias based instead of being opto based, but you'll hear it. And you control the vibrato section in this section here. So we have the vibrato mode, which is on right now, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different speeds with a click. So this is the first one. Second one. And this is almost Leslie sounding, more than a tremolo, because it changes the pitch. So that's probably why they call it vibe or vibrato, because it really changes the pitch. And then we have the trem, which is, let's start in the slower position. And it's crapping up. Great. Okay, so it's two different effects that it's not easy to get on other amps, especially the vibrato one. The tremolo is a very sharp one, very chopped one, but we can mix it with the other channels to make it smoother. We'll get there in a moment. Let's listen if the vibrato channel without the vibrato sounds the same as the normal channel. So the G major. I always like to play G major, this chord, to test an amp, because it is a very rich chord, very harmonic. It has pressed strings, open strings. It really lets me know a lot about the amp, at least to me. I really figure out the amp very, very fast. So let's listen to the vibrato one. And a normal one at the same volume. Two different tones already. Not that different, but two different tones. Not this different. Okay. Then, as with all tube amps, we can crank it, we can dime it, we can play it softer. They react really great to the guitar's volume. So if I'm playing on the normal channel, a little crank, I have a clean tone. But even if I play soft, I have a clean tone with the volume up. And by the way, the Telecaster and the VOX AC30 are really best friends. They go to parties everywhere. Probably that's why Tom Petty use it that much. It's that tone. You're probably thinking, why the fuck do I want a brilliant channel with this crappy tone? Well, first of all, I can use it with a crappy tone. Sometimes it's good to have a very spiky, brilliant tone like this. And as I told you, this section only works with a brilliant channel, so it works in a really different way than Fender and then a Mesa Boogie and from the Marshall, because it almost makes the tone goes out of phase. If I max the treble and bass, I kind of lose the mids, and it's strange. It's but as I turn back the treble, it starts to change starts to bring back the mid range, and it has a sweet spot. Here it is. The same thing with the bass. And as I've been telling you with all the amps, if you have only bass and treble, it means that the mid frequency is fixed. So if I cut off the bass and treble, I only have mids. And I can start tuning my tone from here. So if I need more bass, need more treble, and here it is, the strange out of phase. Let's compare it to the normal setting. fat. Love this amp. So a great thing for you to understand this amp is if you're not using the top the brilliant channel, you have only volume to deal with. And the special VOX tone control, which is the cut control. And the cut control, it's the opposite of the presence control, or works on the opposite direction. If you maxed it, you're not using it. If you start to use it, you're cutting the highs, but only after the power amp section. So you're not cutting the treble in the preamp, you're cutting it right before it goes to the speaker. So it's a great, it's a very good and efficient way of cutting the treble, the harshness of an amp. There goes the treble. And that's it. Two controls for an amp. If you use it just in this channel, it's volume and cut. No simple than that. And we can play with both inputs. So one is quieter than the other. So as in the Marshall, as in the Fenders, you can deal with very high output guitars, like a Les Paul versus this Tele, for example. You can plug the Les Paul into the low input and the Tele into the high, and you have kind of a balanced thing between both guitars. Or if it is too hot for you, or if the amp is too hot and you want to bring it a little bit down and clean it up, it's a good use. Then usually, as with all this kind of amp, you can jump the channels, as I showed you in the Marshall in the last episode. So we can jump channels by plugging a cable here and here, but by some reason this amp already has the 4 channels jumped in, so great, I don't have to do it. Only the vibrato one is not jumped in, so if we want to mix some of the vibrato sound into the normal sound, we need to bring the jump cable. So here's the vibrato one. And this tone is not that important, but in the tremolo, where it is really chopped, if we jump the channels, we can soften a little bit by blending in some of the normal. And the other great way of playing this amp is plugging into the normal channel and blending in the brilliant channel to get that Voxy edge. And this is a good way of getting slightly different tones from an extremely simple amp. But since we are used to normal amps with bass, mid and treble, volume, gain, master volume, reverb, all those things, this might seem a strange amp to work with, but it's in fact really simple. And you can of course use it as a one volume and one cut knob amp. Extremely simple, not even using the Brilliant channel. Well, that's it. I hope you have liked the show. I hope this has been helpful to you. Thank you all for watching. Please, if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see each other next week.